All right. Hey guys, welcome to another live stream. And we'll just get right into it. Start talking about James Courtney. So there's a few interesting things to look at. Actually, there's a lot of interesting things to look at. The first thing I won't do James Courtney just yet, but oh my god, I got a smartwatch for Christmas. I need to make it so that when I put my phone on Do Not Disturb, this thing can be on Do Not Disturb and just not annoy me with notifications. It just gave me a notification because I'm signed into my Mabini Games account. I get notifications from Supercars Mabini because I'm subscribed to it. That's just very annoying. I need to show the chat here. We'll have that there. Sort of ran out of time a little bit. That one, and then we'll put this here. Okay. So this is the total points that everybody got all year, not messed up by the final system or anything like that. So I wanted to know if, because Supercars are advertising, these are the top 7 drivers from, or the top 7 finalists from 2025. They're showing for the Sydney Super Night or whatever the opener is called for 2026. And I thought, I wonder how many of those are actually in the top 7. So I don't think any of the top 7 were actually knocked out. So you got Waters, that's what Moster, Kostecki, Kai Allen, Anton. That's 5 there, 6, and then 7 for Kai Allen. So Brody obviously would have been further up. Waters would have been further up. But it's just because of the system that they... But so Waters still would have been in the top 4. And hang on. So Waters was still top 7. And I think Brown... who got knocked out? Anton, Brody, and Wood. That's who got knocked out. So Brody would have been top 7. Anton, that's not Anton, that's Kai. So Anton wouldn't have been top 7, which is fine. And this one's a bit complicated because it's got Andre Heimgartner, Ryan Wood, and Thomas Randall on very similar points. And I think the winner is Andre with 1784 versus 1764 for Ryan Wood and 1752 for Thomas Randall. So it's very tight. But I think for the most part, most of those drivers were in the top 7. Apart from Brody Kostecki. And Randall would have been the one that didn't count for it. But it all came down to Bathurst, which we've heard mentioned a couple of times. Like if it wasn't for Bathurst, Ryan would have got through a bit better, but he also had the fuel issue. And if it wasn't for I think Heimgartner got knocked out of the finals after Bathurst because I think it was Feeney passed him. Something like that. And because Feeney passed Heimgartner, it got Kai Allen into the finals. But it looked like Kai pretty much passed him, just needed to finish. Didn't necessarily need to finish multiple places ahead of him. Yeah. So then we've got this other metric. We're going to start talking about James Courtney now because here he is, the third best net positions gained. So I got this thing going, and then I've got this other thing called beat your teammate. And so you look at all the number of times that James Courtney out-qualified his teammates and out-raced his teammates, and you go, oh, well, they're rookies. So obviously he's going to be beating the rookie quite often. Um, and oh, sorry, I'll put this here. So just on these metrics alone, you go, "Oh, James Courtney's one of the best." Um, but I think in 2024, Aaron Love was actually better. Than he was better relative to James Courtney than this. There we go. And I need to stop sharing that one so I can show the 2024. Here he is, fourth. So 16 times beaten versus, I'm gonna be shuffling him around a lot, so I'll show my whole screen. So we've got 2024, James Courtney out qualifying Aaron Love, 16 times beaten versus 13 times beaten. So Aaron Love was a little bit better versus James Courtney than Aaron Cameron. And I was talking to Supercars Talk, I think, and he was saying that James Courtney seems to do better machinery, and obviously the machinery isn't going to be too different. Maybe the way it's looked after and the way that the teams prepare the cars and go through their processes of setting up to do the car setup right, so it's a fast car. That could make a difference. And 2025, obviously BRT is better in 25 than they were in 24. Well, so it would seem anyway. If I go to top 15 qualifying, Courtney 17th there in 20. Oh, this is 25. And this is a bit different. It's actually looks like it's a lot more competitive in 2024. Because he was 17th there in top 15s. There it is. And I don't actually know how many top 15 qualifying positions he had in 2024. I can bring that up in a second. But he had 12 top 15 starts out of 34 races. So it's pretty good. He's pretty close. He's rarely qualifying outside the top 20. And we could look at that when we look at Aaron Cameron. And this sort of information that I got going on here is about net gains and losses, which we'll get into that in a bit. So obviously Courtney smashed his teammates last year and this year because he was up against rookies. And if he wasn't up against rookies, he might have had a tougher time if he was up against Todd Hazelwood. So Aaron Cameron regularly outside the top 20. A couple of times there, and he starts to get better. And it's not necessarily not on Courtney's level. So there's that. But there's a few things. So yeah, there's these. That's the beat your teammate stuff. Because I thought that was interesting because there are certain drivers that beat their teammates convincingly, and you've got some drivers that are good that did not do well at all against their teammates. Will Brown, Will Davison down there, Dave Reynolds down there, Kai Allen versus Matt Payne. Look, Kai Allen and Matt Payne has the same numbers Waters and Payne got the same numbers. Randall and Allen got the same numbers. And I've sort of ordered them in a specific way. So it's more impressive that Waters beat Randall than Payne beating Allen because it's Allen's rookie year. Actually, I've got these two the wrong way around because it's more impressive that Allen beat Matt Payne 9 times. So that stuff I think is interesting. If because Randall should be doing better versus Waters. Waters should be beating Randall, but it shouldn't be 73% of the time that Randall is getting beaten by Cam Waters, because that's a lot. Randall should be getting closer and closer year on year. If I go to here, did I finish making this one? Yeah. So we look at the same one, 2024. And I think I have 2023 as well. Randall pretty much had the exact same year as last year in terms of how often he was getting beaten. Except Waters, that's what, 27% of the time. It's not as impressive as it was in 2020, as it was in 2024, because Anton De Pasquale was thrashing Reynolds quite regularly. Courtney was thrashing his teammates regularly. And Will Brown just had a nightmare. And Kostecki destroyed Will Davison as well. So then you got 2024 here, and the reason I've still got Brody up here, even though he didn't compete in as many races, the most important thing I've got number of times beaten and the percentage, because a percentage I find is the best way. The best way to know whether it's accurate or not, because you could say, I think I've got, is it Todd Hazelwood down here? So you got Todd Hazelwood. He only did 6 races, 6 qualifying sessions, 6 races, and he was beaten 58% of the time versus Jack LeBrock. And Jack LeBrock did a lot more races. He did 22 races, 22 qualifying sessions, and most of those were actually up against Brody Kostecki. And so he lost several times to Brody Kostecki, whereas Todd Hazelwood, it was about 50-50, 58% obviously, slightly in favour of Jack LeBrock, apart from in race trim. And with race trim, sometimes I'm counting races where there was a crash. So if Jack LeBrock got a DNF and Hazelwood didn't, then he gets the beat your teammate result. So there's that. Don't think there's too many times, apart from if it's, you got Matt Payne versus Kyle and Richie Stanaway. So, hang on, this is not accurate. There's 24 races. Richie actually didn't. All right, hang on. This isn't stacking up right. This might have an effect because Richie. Hang on. Richie did qualify, but he didn't beat Matt Payne. He didn't do the races. So I need to get my calculator and we're going to run that again. So what's that? 10 times, and was that 6 out of 23? 23 minus 6. Yeah, 17. And what's that? 17 and 10 times is 27 times. That makes a difference. Is that right? Yes. Alright, I think that's right. Just making sure I got my numbers right. So I got 27 divided by, what's that, 45? 45 is 60%. So it actually does make a tiny difference. Because then Richie Stanaway is actually better than a bunch of these guys. Hang on. I think that the percentage is actually more important. Yeah, so got to make sure that's right. So not too different there. Just a little bit ahead of was that Cameron Hill and Tim Slade. Very complicated, but yeah. So then I've got an accurate way of saying did Todd Hazelwood do better versus his teammates than Mark Winterbottom, and it's about the same. Then you got Frosty getting beaten in 2024. And I was thinking, if we were to argue a case for whether a driver should be kept or not, do we say, oh, well, Frosty was getting beaten 58% of the time, therefore he should have been let go at the end of 2024? Is that really fair? So I wonder if it would be fair if a 40-60 split is probably more okay. So you got Richie, got beat 60% of the time. It's not really good. Not what we're after. Same with Cam Hill, but Cam Hill was obviously in his second year, so he would do better the next time around. He was pretty good qualifying versus racing. Nick Percat was beating him. So maybe in year 3 he would do better. Whereas Tim Slade getting beaten by Jimmy Golding, 9 years more experienced, it's not really on. That's not what we want. So there's that. Then you got the BJR drivers getting beaten a lot of the time. We got Ryan Wood down here, which you might be surprised, but it was Ryan Wood's rookie year, and he was fast. I remember him being fast in 2024. I don't remember if he was beating Chaz, but obviously he was not beating Chaz very regularly because 90% of the time, that's a huge amount of time. Then what else we're looking at? Will Davison versus Anton De Pasquale. I think I've had people saying, Anton was beating Will Davison all those years. He shouldn't have been kept. But he's got 52% of the time. That's pretty close there. You'd still keep him. Whether you would keep him versus Anton, I would have gone Anton, not Will, because he was out qualifying his teammate quite regularly. And you can fix race results. Sometimes what there was 2020. This is 2024 we're looking at. So how often were these affected by things that were outside of Anton's control? Whether it was some sort of mistake in the pits or a crash, that could have had an effect. And I think yeah. I don't understand why. I get why you go, oh yeah, Will Davison was scoring more points, but it just didn't make any sense. I know it's a narrow difference, and obviously the priority was we want Brody Kostecki, but I still would have put him next to Anton, because then you would have had 2 cars qualifying up the front, whereas Will Davison wasn't doing that very often. Because another thing we can look at here, top 5 qualifying. Anton here, Davison a couple of spots down. Top 10 qualifying, Anton right up there, Davison further back. In top 15 qualifying, he was 3rd best, Davison well down. And the difference here is obviously in race trim, Davison was finishing ahead of De Pasquale. But then top 10, De Pasquale ahead of Davison. And top 15 finishes equal. So pretty close. But one reason I made the beat your teammate thing is so you can sort of see who was actually the top 10 best drivers, because there'll be some that you go, obviously Courtney was doing a very good job against, and this is 2024, so we'll have a look at 2025. Obviously Courtney had an advantage because he just had to beat his teammate. But then you have a look at the driver ups and downs. And this is where we look at the net gains and losses. Courtney was third best. More often than not, he gained a lot of positions, and obviously it's easy to do that when you're qualifying down the back. But he could have had some bad race starts, but there also an argument against this is there could have been people behind him or other people had issues, which meant he might have been the last runner or last guy who hadn't had an issue. And then so sort of inherited that gain. But I don't think that was the case because look, he's gained a lot of positions there. Maybe Taupo because they said they were very, very slow at Taupo. And we can look at some issues there. Who finished those bottom three positions? Let's go on the Supercars website. It's going to make it so much easier. Hang on. Supercars website, see the results. Go to Taupo. So here's JC. He finished ahead of Randall. Now I think, and then he got Cooper Murray. Cooper Murray, was that the one where he got in a tangle? Was it with James Courtney? But that was a bit of an accident. The wheels locked and he got speared off. Randall, I think, had a bunch of penalties, and obviously Mac has had his engine failure. So it's less impressive now because Courtney started last. And I think all of those gains are because other things happened to other drivers. And Aaron Cameron beat him. So we've got that. So if we go find, who was it? Randall and Murray. Here's Randall. So first one, yeah, spun Mostert, clip deep Pasquale, lock up, bump wide by Wood, spun by Kostecki. So yeah, everything went wrong there. So that's why Courtney ended up ahead. Cooper Murray got bumped off by Cameron Hill. Was that what it was? Was that the one I'm thinking of? I think Cooper Murray is the third worst in terms of net positions gained and lost. The very worst is obviously Ryan Wood. How many of those are because things went wrong? Not sure about this one. Don't know what happened. I haven't really gone through Albert Park, so I'm not sure. Some of these, like QR, I haven't filled in yet, and I'll have to do that later. But a lot of losses there. This is the one where what do you call it? Punted Brown. What was it? 15 seconds. All right. Yeah, a lot of them are because either race incidents or things went wrong for Ryan Wood. And so I don't count. I don't know what supercars.com does with how it rates each driver when it comes to their positions gained and lost, because the big thing is the Will Brown thing. They're like, oh, Will Brown gained the most positions all year. And I thought, really? There's been other incredible drives through the field. So it ends up, so he had 143 positions gained, 27 losses, which is not bad at all. 116 net gain. Heimgarten, 109 net gain. Very good. 138 gains versus 143 gains. It's very close. Courtney's a little bit further down on those guys, but 22 losses versus 29, 27. So he rarely lost positions. And it looks like the biggest one was when they made that mistake at QR, put the wets on. And what else? Big one was at -5 there. Yeah, he just only lost a couple positions at a time. This one at Darwin, not sure what happened, but it's only 5 spots down, so not sure. Um, just pretty rare. He was able to hold position and gain positions and rarely lose positions. So for the most part, obviously that one at Taupo that we just looked at, he didn't actually really gain any positions, not on track. And I guess Aaron Cameron out qualified Courtney as well. So you got this next one here. Cooper and so Aaron Cameron out qualified Courtney again. And so what happened there to Cooper? I don't know. I don't think I've got that one written down. I think I've only got that first one just off memory. So, not good at all for Courtney in that one. Even though he technically gained two spots, he didn't really gain those spots. And then we got down here. Courtney actually out qualified Aaron Cameron. Cooper, I guess something happened to Percat. So looks like Courtney did have to pass Percat, but maybe something happened to Percat. And so Aaron Cameron actually started last. Courtney was second to last. So looks like Bryce got passed as well. Could have been other things though. I see that Bryce got punted by someone. But in terms of net gains and losses, because it's just going to be complicated. There's so much data to go into, so much information that you look at and you go, "Is this actually what happened, or did he just sort of inherit positions?" And that's obviously, apart from I think this third race here, he just inherited positions. So something happened to Cooper. And it looks like Courtney passed Aaron Cameron and just was faster. So they got the race pace sorted. Quali not very good at all. Whereas, just BRT struggling all weekend pretty much. So what else? So the net gains and losses are interesting because you get a bit of an idea of obviously it's easier to gain positions if you're in a faster car. But it tells you a bit about how good they are at driving. Some of it is luck, some of it's just good driving skills. Macca Jones did not lose that many positions. He didn't qualify all that well, but he gained quite a few positions and didn't lose too many either. So, but 45 losses, that's a good number of losses there. But some of these races I can't really remember. I think Darwin, he got fed out on lap 1 and just dropped all those positions. It was pretty brutal. So I'll write that one down. Further down lap 1. Not sure what happened here at QR. This was the wet one. Obviously putting the elbow there. Sandown, can't really remember. And dropped 10 spot, got freight train to Adelaide, which I was really disappointed at. I'm like, I couldn't believe that was happening. But Jackson Evans is up there, 8th best, in terms of net gains and losses. So he really didn't lose that many positions. Not sure what happened here at Sandown. And these colours, for those who don't know, yellow means he out-qualified his teammates. And I've got a little J here, which means he beat his teammates in the races. Only happened once at Queensland. Didn't happen at Tassie because I think, was it in the first one? Like, pretty much, he was just consistently up there and consistently out qualifying his teammates. Um, Maka out qualified his teammates in that second one. The third one, Jackson out qualified everyone. And I think in the first one, I think it was Bryce out qualified everyone. Um, so yeah, everyone got to go pretty much except for Andre. He was Andre. Where are he, Tassie? Yeah, he Tassie. He did not qualify very well, but he did beat everyone in the race in the third one. I think the first one was Bryce, and then second one's Maka. Third one was Andre. So yeah, there's a bit going on, pretty interesting. Bit of a damp patch there in terms of his qualifying performances for Andre. But yeah, so when it comes to JC and saying was he one of the best drivers of 2025, he could have been. Obviously he had it pretty easy against his teammate. If he had a Todd Hazelwood, maybe it might have been different. Or if he had a second year Aaron Love, it might have been different. And there's actually a lot I want to say. There's also, the phrase, "Oh, he's getting too old. He's not as good as he used to be." And sometimes these drivers are driving as well as ever, and it's interesting. You got these how far less experienced they are. Courtney obviously smashed his teammates at BRT, but maybe and Water smashed Randall. Well, maybe Randall's not that good. And I'm looking at significantly more experience. So you got LeBrock's more experience than Cooper Murray, and that sort of helped him a lot. So he actually out qualified and out raced Cooper Murray quite regularly. So he's up there, even though he didn't have a great season. He still beat Cooper Murray pretty regularly, and Cooper Murray is a very fast. He's very fast. He's got a lot of raw talent, and he didn't get smashed too hard in 2025. So it sort of shows that I'm expecting Cooper Murray to be good next year. I don't think I'm going to talk about my predictions for 2026 this stream because obviously every time I go through data, I can think of more data to go through, and it just makes it turns into a bit of a mess. What else? Chaz Moss, 11 years more experience than Ryan Wood, but it was actually very close. I might have gone through this last stream, but to me, the data is very interesting, and it's important to just keep on reflecting on the year that was, because not everyone's going to tune in at the right time. I don't know if anyone's been tuning in at all. I don't think this stream or the last one, I was looking at every time I checked, it was like 0 views, and that's probably what happens when we're at the end of the season. So it might be good to start going and looking at old things, and I might do that. But so we've got that. We got Will Brown down here in 2025, and then we've got 2024 where he was down here in 2024, getting beaten by his teammate. Just it's very close there. But also I've got another one for 2023, and so this is going to be interesting. Because Will Brown was also down here versus Brody Kostecki. And so you see those sorts of stats, and I'm going through 2022 at the moment. It's a work in progress. Will Brown is not very good against Brody Kostecki and Brock Feeney, and both Brody and Brody took like that first year, and I don't have the numbers to prove it. The first year, Brown was more consistent, and that's why he beat Brody Kostecki. He was just more consistently ready to get those results. But then I think in 2022, the proof was very clear that Brody was actually better than Will Brown quite regularly. I think as I work on the 2022 data, Brody had it in spades over Will Brown. And so pretty much the only year since 2021 that Will Brown beat his teammate was 2024, and it wasn't even by a big margin. It was very close. So yeah, Will Brown is just not quite. He is. He's either had. I mean, obviously, he's had some incredible teammates because Brody Kostecki is an incredible driver, an incredible operator, and the same as Brock Feeney. Brock Feeney is an incredible operator, and Brock's had. Brock had Shane Van Gisbergen as a teammate for 2 years, and that's a guy that's going to be very hard to beat. Where's SVG? He's 10th there, so obviously he got Brock Feeney a little bit further down, but he was only beaten 68% of the time. And obviously SVG liked the Gen 2 cars more than he liked the Gen 3 cars. So Brock was going to do a little bit better, quite possibly just because he didn't care too much for the differences. Whereas Shane Van Gisbergen did. He was a lot more vocal about how he just didn't really like the Gen 3 car. And he'd also achieved a whole lot, so he didn't really care too much. Whereas Brock Feeney had it all to play for. Brock Feeney wanted to be winning races and getting pole positions, and he wanted to try and win a championship. And was it mid 2023? He had the momentum. It looked like he might have had a chance at doing it. 2024, he had the. Hang on, I'll drink my drink. Oof. I haven't checked the weather. All right. Brock Feeney started to come along. He had a shot at the title in 2023, but 2024, I think just the consistency wasn't helping him, and that was the only difference versus Will Brown. And so he's fixed that. He's fixed the consistency, and his qualifying pace is pretty much as good as it was before. So, yeah. That's just what Brock's been up against. So Brock is one of the best drivers in the category. So is Brody Kostecki. And Will Brown may not be. Will Brown has a lot to work on for 2026. He really needs to step it up. He needs to be out qualifying his teammate better. He needs to be, I think, out racing. Let's go back to 2025. Will Brown, 10 to 33. So it's definitely a lot better than his qualifying pace. But he's still beaten in race trim 23 times, but probably because of probably because of qualifying. If you qualify behind your teammate, you're going to be less likely to overtake him. So that's one thing. That's another metric I can think of. Like, how many times did you overtake your teammate after qualifying behind him? So that could be interesting. Which is why I like separating qualifying from race trim, because obviously you got Ryan Wood out qualified Chaz most of the time, but then Chaz out raced Ryan Wood most of the time, and obviously there were plenty of times where there were issues that that Ryan Wood had, and also issues that Chaz had, where Ryan Wood, like Chaz had the engine failure at Bathurst, but Ryan Wood had an issue and then they fixed it and sent him back out, so he technically finished ahead of Chaz. So yeah, then we've got. I might only go for an hour this time. If no one comments or jumps in, then I might only go for an hour. So, yeah, there was someone watching for a second. Anyway, what were we looking at? Best qualifiers. So, yeah, that's 2025, but I think, was it 23? Jack Smith, 100% of the time in 2023, he was beaten. That stuff was interesting to me because you got Jackson Evans comes in. And so 2024, Jackson Evans was slightly better. So neither Jackson nor Macaulay outqualified their teammates in 2024. But Jackson actually outraced his teammates 2 times, and Macca only did it once. So that I thought was interesting. So it's like the battle for who was the worst BJR driver. And the percentages I think is interesting. You can go look at I think was Declan Fraser down there? Yeah, 98% of the time. But a big thing that I sort of thought of a while back was expectations. You have to have realistic expectations. Is it realistic to expect Declan Fraser to outqualify Cam Waters, James Courtney, and Thomas Randall? And you'd probably be more expecting him to outqualify Thomas Randall. But Randall was actually the better qualifier out of the three of them. So we got five times for Randall, 3 times for Courtney, and 1 time for Decker. Most of the times it was Waters, but Randall was actually just a little bit better there. Same deal in race trim. 7 times for Randall, 4 times for Courtney, 0 times for Fraser. So there's that. Obviously, Macca out-qualified and out-raced his teammates 2 times, but Macca had quite a few top 10s, so he had more opportunities where he might have got that job done. But yeah, Will Brown versus any of his teammates, it has not been impressive. Apart from possibly 21, and so I'll have to look at that later. James Golding versus Tim Slade, smashed his teammate. So I want to go back to 25 because obviously we're trying to talk about 25. Top 10 best drivers of 2025. Brody Kostecki, Brock Feeney, James Courtney, Antonio Pasquale, Cam Waters, Matt Payne, Jack LeBrock, James Golding, Cameron Hill, and Chaz Mostert. And that's just if we were looking at how many times they beat their teammates. And so when you look at, let's look at the supercars.com one. They did one that was like, oh, these are the best drivers of 2020 thing, 2025, whatever. Oh, I missed a phone call. It's annoying. All right, I'm going to wrap it up in 17 minutes. I did get his message, but I haven't replied. So yeah, I'll have to ring him back. The best races. Where's the best drivers? Where was it? Oh, they're top 10 drivers. Do they have the full list in the thing? Obviously, Brock Feeney's number 1. Alright, so we want them. So, Brock Feeney number 1. Chaz Mostert. Which was Chaz Mostert in my top 10? Whoops. Yes, he was 10th. Matt Payne obviously beat Kai Allen quite regularly. Ryan Wood is not in my top 10. Brody Kostecki is. He's like 3rd or something, or 1st. Kai Allen, he's not because Matt Payne beat him regularly. Will Brown, he is not because he got destroyed by his teammate. Anton De Pasquale obviously beat David Reynolds more often. And if I get any time, I'm going to talk about General Motors and their fruitless efforts to be competitive in the future. Cam Waters obviously destroyed Thomas Randall. Cameron Hill versus I think Cameron Hill is in mine. Oh, yeah, he's ninth there. They're not going to have LeBrock. They're not going to have any of those guys. So, yeah, they've got Cameron Hill. And they've only got him because he won a race. That's pretty much it. They're like, oh, how good's Cam Hill? He won a race. He won one race. He did beat his teammates regularly. So I've got Hill, Waters. The ones I disagree with are Will Brown, Kai Allen, Ryan Wood, just on stats. And yeah, there's just three that I disagree with, or that my process disagrees with. That's one there. What else? Let's go back here. Um, So if we were to look at things like that, then obviously, like Jack LeBrock wasn't able to be in the top 10 because he was teammates with Brody Kostecki, who beat him all the time. And it's sort of interesting if you say how good is a driver. I've got my tier list going, and we've I haven't revisited it in a while, but that's something that's probably a good idea to revisit this time of year in the off season. After I finish doing 150 streams of me reflecting on the year that was. Because obviously LeBrock was good against rookie Cam Hill. He was a little bit better than Todd Hazelwood in 24, but in 22, I think I think it was pretty close then as well. LeBrock and Hazel were pretty close. LeBrock versus Brody got smashed even against Todd Hazelwood and beat Cooper Murray. And who do I expect to be better, Cooper Murray or Job Stewart? Probably Cooper Murray because he's more experienced and he's quite possibly faster. But we don't know if Job Stewart is going to be a little bit worse or a lot worse. And you probably expect Cooper to be better just because he's got that year under his belt. He's got a good amount of experience. He did the Triple Eight wild card, and then he did a couple of races at Adelaide at the end of 24, and then he did this full season with Erebus as well. So he's got a lot of experience, a lot of recent experience. Job Stewart just had his first enduro season, and now is jumping straight into full time. So, which is different to Ryan Wood, who didn't have any experience. He went straight from Super 2 with no co-drive to being up against Chaz Mostert. And he got thrashed by Chaz, but he was impressive just in terms of the results that he was getting, but compared to his teammate, or compared to his predecessors, Nick Percat and Bryce Fullwood. Speaking of which, Bryce Fullwood, not too bad there, 65%. And if we had a look at 2024, 69% beaten, and we have a look at 2023, 68%. But other people did worse, so maybe it looks a bit better. So there's that. But oh yeah, Thomas Randall, 73% in 2025, 73% in 2024. Like, come on, what are you doing? And 79% 2024, 2023. So he did improve. But obviously he had three other teammates. There was more of a chance of someone beating him. It would be good to actually have basically Randall did improve in hang on, that's what I was about to say. How I've got the different colors for Brad Jones Racing drivers. I'm gonna do the same for 2023 Tickford drivers, and then you get a better idea of, was Randall just like regularly second best, or was he also third best sometimes? So that's gonna be good to look at because obviously Waters was better than him a lot of the time. Um, but Courtney was okay. Yep, can't do today. Um, I wish I had this thing also, but it's also kind of good because um, I've got a barbecue I'm having today. So, and I know the last few streams I haven't really have been pretty short, and that's sort of just because if I don't have a whole lot to say, then I'm just gonna go, oh, who cares? I'm just gonna wrap it up here, and that's fine. That's what I'll do because I do just like sitting and chilling and working on the data and going through things. Um, yeah. Yeah, I've got a barbecue one today, so I've got like messages come through, and it's I gotta check it to see, if there's something I need to know because it does pop up with the message. Um, but I'm also trying to do this, and it's a bit annoying. I wish it would just not show me the messages. So, um, yeah, 2023 top 10 drivers, Scott Pye versus Frosty, obviously quite good. But it's interesting, right? Because 54%, and I've got data for percentage of points scored um, for I think it was Lee Holdsworth. I was like, 2019 Lee Holdsworth got into the top 10 of the championship, but did he score a lot of points versus that same position in previous years? Or, um, oh my God, having those messages is really distracting. Um, like, did he actually do a really good job, or was he just sort of lucky? Because it can be like that, right? So, so then you got like 54% here. This is where 54% is for Frosty 2023. Then we go 2024. Where's 54%? It's actually lower. So if you have 54%, you would be down. You'd be 13th, not 10th or 11th. 2025. Like 54% doesn't get you into the top 10. Um, because obviously you're getting beaten by the teammate, and so you could argue that every team has every team will have drivers that beat their teammates most of the time. So or slightly more. So and it would be good to look at that information to be like, okay, so you got DJR. So DJR, it's a whitewash. Triple A, it's a whitewash. BRT, it's a whitewash. Team 18, it's a whitewash. Tigford's a whitewash. Okay, I'll have to text him. I have to send a text. Um, yeah. So what? Tigford's a whitewash. Matt Payne versus Kai Allen. And you got it was like how many of these? So like it is like obviously the top 10 drivers will be just smashing everyone. Mm. Um, or yeah, so like if they're beating half the time, then it's like that's reasonable. But then you look at the ones that are like, okay, rookie teammate, rookie teammate, um, rookie teammate, um, you got Rich Stanaway, yeah, so it's like, wow, how many rookie teammates is that? One, two, um, 3. There's 3 out of 7 that have got rookie teammates, right? Where they're a lot more experienced. So yeah, you got Courtney, you've got Matt Payne, and Jacob Rock. Everybody else, um, they're less experienced. Well, hang on, how many less experienced? So yeah, Courtney is obviously a lot more experienced. Waters 6 years more experienced than Randall, but Randall's got a few years under his belt as well. Matt Payne's quite young in his career. And LeBrock's a lot more experienced, whereas everybody else, they've got a few years under their belt. They don't actually have a rookie teammate. So it'd be good to go through some of these things and actually, and I'm gonna wrap this up in 4 minutes. It'd be good to look at them and say, how much does the experience actually matter? Because if a driver is a lot less experienced, like Brody Kostecki is 13 years less experienced than Will Davison, Will Davison just should have somehow done a better job. But if you have a look at, I can't remember where it is. Is it in? It's not there. Where is it? It's somewhere here. Will Davison was not actually that bad with his net gains. So he didn't actually lose too many spots. He wasn't in the negatives, like quite a few drivers were in the negatives. He usually he gained 89 spots across the season, but he lost 63 spots. But how many of those was there an issue? I don't know what happened at the race at SMP. Might have, I think, something in the pits, I'm thinking, or maybe a penalty. Then he got a double stack here, so that's not his fault. Then you got a pit lane penalty at Darwin. Then you've got where was it? Oh, and the wheel fell off. That one. So that's 17 spots, right? So that's a lot of spots that he lost because somebody else screwed up. Got put in the fence at Gold Coast. That didn't help. He got turned by Heimgut and he only dropped 4 spots somehow. And what's this? Bumpo Di Pasquale ran wide, slightly so stop. So just like a couple of little things didn't help him, but he still finished top 10. And then got hit in a chain reaction. Pit lane penalty, like a couple of things, but it's not like Will Davison, as far as how he went in the races, he was actually a pretty good racing driver in 2025. For what he achieved in race trim compared to how he qualified, he was usually pretty good. And so I think that's probably the most important takeaway from this data, and especially from the net gains and losses, all right? Because he's equal with Rylan Gray, all right? He did 34 races. Rylan Gray did 5 races. But Rylan Gray didn't lose any spots, but he obviously started down the bottom. So something happened to someone else. He stayed out of trouble, and he inherited. I think he inherited because the Tickford wildcards were not fast cars. They didn't have a whole lot of speed. It was usually something happened to someone else and they stayed out of trouble. Was it James Moffat's advice to Rylan Gray was stay out of the highlights? And that's what he did. And that's why he's technically equal 9th because he has a 26 net gain. He never dropped any spots. Lockie Doughton dropped a few spots in the Perth one, but he actually qualified quite well, 18th. That's pretty good. And obviously in qualifying, I know what was that? It was Perth. So it might have been some luck somewhere. Who knows? But yeah, not sure what happened there. Was there an incident maybe, or was it? I think there might have been a slow pit stop or something. So, but there's stuff like that. Like Will Davison obviously didn't qualify very well. Didn't get a lot of points across the year, but he didn't actually do a whole lot wrong. right? Even like looking through finals, right? He only lost spots in that one race where Forward put him in the fence. All the other ones, top 15s, he's done a great job. He's moving up in the field, quite a few storming drives as well. So like Albert Park, 20th up to 11th, 23rd up to 15th, 24th up to 17th. That's not really much to write home about. Then you've got 16th up to 10th, which was quite a good one. Was there one at Gold Coast? But he got the 5-second penalty, which dropped him out of the 10 because he technically did finish in the top 10 that first race at Gold Coast. That was a pretty good drive, that one. And 9 spots up at Sandown. Like, he's done a really good job. And I really hope that Dick Johnson Racing told him that, all right? And now, how many of those things can be fixed year on year? Like, can you make Will Davison qualify better and race better? I mean, his racing was fine, but he wasn't getting the car into the top 10, but especially his qualifying because he was outside the top 10 in terms of qualifying. And that's not what you want. You want 2 top 10 drivers. And so, yeah, it's pretty unfortunate like that. But he was actually quite a solid race driver. 18 top 15 finishes versus 17 top. That's not a whole lot difference. Not a whole lot of difference there. 2 top 5 finishes versus 3 top 5 qualifyings. Like, there's that. Yeah. So in terms of like the results that he was getting, was not great. And while he did have great drives through the field on occasion, and a lot of the times where like that 17 spots that he dropped there, that's because Dick Johnson Racing basically tipped the wheelbarrow upside down when they rebuilt their team for 2025. And I just don't think that was the right way to go. I sort of get where, like, I like going back to that interview. Ryan Story did one with Speed Cafe, but the one I think is the best one is the one on Scott Pye's podcast, Apex Hunters. That was really good because he talked about things and he has a really intricate knowledge. He has a lot of good ideas of what things are going on. And I thought, that's I like when people have good ideas about how things work in supercars and in sport in general or in life in general. So that's where I'm going to wrap up the stream. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.